All right, so today we're going to be diving into something kind of intense,
Oh, yeah.
but very relevant
Hmm.
in our digital world. Surveillance self-defense. Now, before you start picturing yourself, dodging lasers
Yeah.
like Jason Bourne, let me
Yeah.
assure you, this is about empowering everyone,
Yeah.
not just secret agents, to be savvy
Mm.
about their online privacy.
Absolutely.
Oh,
To guide us on this mission,
okay.
we've got a pretty fascinating resource
Okay.
from the Electronic Frontier Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
or EFF, as most people know them as.
Right.
It's a guide from 2009
Oh, wow.
called Surveillance Self-Defense International.
I know, 2009.
Ancient history.
Sounds like ancient history.
Right.
Especially in internet years.
Yeah, seriously, back when flip phones were still cool.
Right. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The core principles of digital security, they're timeless.
Mm-hmm.
And this guide,
Yeah.
it lays them out in such a way that it's still incredibly relevant today.
So think of it as your digital survival manual.
Okay.
Whether you're an activist in a restrictive country
Right.
or just someone who values their privacy,
Yeah,
like everybody should.
for sure. Okay, so our mission today
Yes.
is to equip ourselves with the knowledge
Right.
to navigate this crazy digital world safely and confidently.
That's it.
Where do we even begin?
Well, like any good adventure,
Yeah.
we start with risk assessment.
Oh, okay.
This isn't about being paranoid or anything like that.
Gotcha.
It's about understanding the specific threats that you face.
So it's kind of like packing for a trip. You wouldn't bring a parka to the beach.
Exactly.
Right. You'd think about your destination, what you're doing there.
Precisely.
Pack accordingly.
Yeah. With digital risk assessment, it's about figuring out who might be interested in your data
Okay.
and how much effort they might put into getting it. So, think about it. Are you working with any sensitive information?
Oh.
Are you living in a country with strict internet controls? These are the kinds of things you need to consider.
That makes sense. It's about being realistic and not letting fear take over.
Exactly.
So once we've assessed our risks, what's the first line of defense?
Well, one of the biggest and often most underestimated threats is malware.
Oh, no, malware. Isn't that what my grandma blames every computer problem on?
Uh-huh. It's possible.
Right.
But seriously, malware is no joke.
Okay.
It can render even the most careful precautions totally useless.
Ah.
The EFF guide,
Yeah.
puts it bluntly, it says, if a government is able to install malware,
Mm-hmm.
your files and communications will be subject to surveillance.
Okay. That's definitely chilling.
Yeah.
So even if I'm being super careful and using strong passwords and being careful about what I click on,
Right.
malware can just bypass all of that.
It can.
Oh, wow.
Which is why keeping your security software up to date and being very cautious about what you download
Mm-hmm.
or click on is absolutely essential.
Gotcha.
So think of it like locking your front door.
Okay.
It won't stop a really determined intruder,
Right.
but it'll stop most casual attempts.
Yeah. Okay. So update. And be mindful of those suspicious links.
Be suspicious.
I got it.
Don't click on everything.
Exactly. But what about the ways we communicate? Are some channels inherently riskier than others?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this might come as a surprise to you,
Okay.
but the EFF guide actually points out
Mm-hmm.
that SMS text messages can be more vulnerable than phone calls.
Really? I would have thought a phone call would be easier to tap into or something.
Well, it's true that governments often have the ability to track who's calling whom,
Mm-hmm.
but to actually listen in on the content of those calls
Yeah.
takes more resources.
Uh,
On the other hand, SMS messages, those are often transmitted unencrypted.
unencrypted. Does that mean anyone can just read them?
Essentially, yes.
Oh, wow.
As they're whizzing through the airwaves.
Wow. I had no idea.
It makes intercepting and analyzing the content of those messages way easier.
So while we might assume text messages are private,
Right.
they can actually be surprisingly exposed.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just about what we're saying,
Yeah.
but how we're saying it.
Exactly.
And when it comes to online communication,
Right.
Email, messaging apps, all of that,
Mm.
encryption becomes a pretty crucial tool.
Absolutely.
Okay, encryption. Now, I always hear that word, but I'll be honest, it sounds a bit intimidating.
I get that, but think of it this way.
Okay.
Encryption is like putting your message in a locked box
Mm-hmm.
that only the intended recipient has the key to open.
Okay.
So it scrambles the information in a way that makes it unreadable
Right.
to anyone without that key.
That's actually a really helpful analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there like tools out there
Yes.
that do the encryption heavy lifting for us?
Thankfully, yes.
Okay, good.
The guide mentions a couple user-friendly options.
Okay.
There's something called OTR messaging
Okay.
that stands for off the record.
Oh, okay.
It's basically a plugin
Okay.
that adds encryption to your instant messages.
So it's like adding an extra layer of security to like the messaging apps that I already use.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
And then there's secure webmail.
Right?
So using a provider
Yeah.
that supports HTTPS encryption
Okay.
will keep your email secure.
Okay.
The guide actually recommends
Mm-hmm.
riseup.net,
Oh,
which is a provider known for prioritizing user privacy.
okay, that's good to know.
Or if you're a Gmail user,
Right.
you just want to make sure to enable HTTPS in the settings.
Okay, so it's about choosing the right tools
Yeah.
and making sure that they're configured correctly.
Yes.
It's kind of reassuring that we can like send secure messages
Right.
without needing a degree in like cryptography.
Absolutely.
Right?
The technology exists,
Yeah.
and it's getting more user-friendly all the time.
So that's good.
But even with seemingly secure platforms,
Oh.
there are some nuances to be aware of.
Like what?
Well, the guide specifically calls out Skype as an example.
Oh, interesting. I use Skype all the time. What kind of like concerns are we talking about?
Well, the guide suggests
Yeah.
that countries with sophisticated intelligence agencies,
Okay.
like the U.S., Israel, or Russia,
Mm-hmm.
might have the ability to crack Skype's encryption.
Oh, wow.
It's not a guarantee,
Right.
but it's a possibility
Okay.
to be aware of.
That is a little unsettling. So even with encryption, it's not a like foolproof guarantee
Right.
of
Yeah.
privacy. What can we do to take our digital security even further?
Well, that's where a really powerful tool like Tor comes into play.
Oh,
You might have heard of it.
yeah.
It sometimes gets a reputation as being the, dark web browser.
Yeah, I've had whispers about Tor, but
Oh.
I never really understood like what it's all about.
So Tor,
Yeah.
it's a really powerful tool for anyone who wants to protect their online activity,
Okay.
not just folks engaging in illegal activities.
Right.
It works by encrypting your internet traffic
Okay.
and bouncing it through a network of servers all around the world.
So it's like my data is taking a world tour,
Yeah.
making it really hard to trace back to me.
That's a great analogy.
Okay, awesome.
Now, Tor does come with a trade-off.
Oh.
It can slow down your browsing speed,
Oh, okay.
but the security it provides
Yeah.
is definitely worth it, especially for sensitive communications.
I'm starting to see why this 2009 guide is still so relevant,
Yeah.
even though technology has advanced.
Hmm.
The fundamentals of protecting our privacy are the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just like any skill,
Right.
the more you understand about how things work,
Yeah.
the better equipped you are
Right.
to make smart decisions
Exactly.
about your digital security.
So what else does this digital survival manual have in store for us? What other like tools and techniques?
Well, let's talk about Tor bridges,
Oh.
or secret entry points to the Tor network.
So if Tor is like taking the scenic route through the internet,
Yeah.
Tor bridges are like hopping on a private jet. Nobody even knows you left the country.
Exactly. And they make it even harder for
wow.
anyone to detect that you're using Tor,
Right.
which is especially important
Yeah.
in countries with really heavy internet censorship,
Mm-hmm.
or if just simply using Tor could, put you at risk.
Right. Like, why wave a red flag if you
Exactly.
don't have to?
Right.
But all this talk of Tor and encryption and stuff sounds
Yeah.
pretty advanced.
Yeah.
Is this guide really for everyone or
Wow.
just like tech-savvy activists and stuff?
That's the beauty of this guide.
Okay.
It offers this range of tips
Yeah.
from really basic to more technical.
Okay.
For example, it stresses the importance of carefully considering
Okay.
what you publish online
Right.
and where you publish it.
Yeah, that's a good point, because sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's easy to forget
Right.
that what we toast online can have real-world consequences,
Exactly.
especially when you're dealing with sensitive topics or whatever.
Especially, the guide advises against using your real name
Okay.
or revealing personal details
Right.
unless you're fully aware of the risks.
Yeah.
It also recommends being cautious about hosting services
Okay.
that have a presence in your country
Mm.
or are likely to cooperate
Right.
with your government.
So choose platforms known for protecting user privacy
Yeah,
and maybe located outside your country's jurisdiction.
ideally.
Yes, got it. But what about just browsing the web? Is there anything we can do to protect ourselves
Yeah.
while we're just surfing around?
The guide has a surprising tip.
Oh.
It emphasizes using HTTPS.
Oh, HTTPS. That's that little padlock icon in the address bar, right?
That's the one.
Okay.
It indicates
Yeah.
that the connection between your browser
Mm-hmm.
and the website is encrypted,
Okay.
making it much harder for anyone to snoop on your activity.
So I should be seeing that little padlock on every website I visit.
Ideally, yes, especially for sites where
Okay.
you're logging in or sharing like sensitive information.
Right.
It might surprise you to know
Yeah.
that even back in 2009,
Wow.
the EFF considered this best practice.
Wow. So this is definitely a case of timeless advice.
Definitely.
I'm curious, though, is there anything those of us who aren't facing, like, direct censorship can do to help support digital freedom
If so.
around the world? It feels like, such a big issue.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder what impact, like, one person can even have.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the guide actually addresses this directly.
Oh,
It turns out there's quite a bit we can do.
awesome.
And it starts with a really cool concept, running a Tor relay.
A Tor relay?
What's that? Remember how we were talking about how Tor bounces your traffic through a network of servers to make it harder to trace?
Yeah.
Well, those servers are run by volunteers all around the world.
So it's a decentralized system powered by people who believe in online privacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by running a Tor relay, you're essentially donating some of your bandwidth
Okay.
to help keep the Tor network
Right.
strong and accessible for everyone.
So I can, like, help people access information freely
You can.
just by letting them use a bit of my internet connection.
That's right.
That's amazing. It makes you realize that
Yeah.
even, like, small actions
Yes.
can have a ripple effect.
And it really does.
That's awesome.
And if you're feeling even more adventurous,
Okay.
you can even run a Tor bridge,
Right.
which, as we discussed,
Yeah.
helps people in countries with extreme censorship
Right.
connect to the Tor network.
Wow. So there are, like, different levels of involvement.
Yeah.
You can kind of, like, dip your toes in.
You can.
Or, like, really dive deep depending on, like, your comfort level and your resources.
Yeah.
And, of course, there's also the option of running a Tor exit node. But as you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
it comes with, like, a different set of considerations.
It does.
Yeah, I remember you saying it could be a bit more complicated. What are the, like, risks involved with running an exit node?
Well, because exit nodes are the points
Yeah.
where traffic leaves the Tor network and enters the regular internet.
Okay.
They can be more vulnerable to abuse.
Okay.
So someone using Tor for illegal activities
Right.
could make it appear as though the traffic originated
With
from
that.
the exit node.
So you could end up getting blamed
You could.
for someone else's bad behavior, even though you're just trying to help people access the internet freely.
That's the risk.
Wow. Okay.
And it's why the EFF guide
Yeah.
stresses the importance of carefully reading the Tor project's advice
Right.
on running exit nodes
Gotcha.
before you take that step.
Yeah.
They have tons of information on their website about how to do it safely and responsibly.
It sounds like running an exit node is kind of like being a digital superhero
Is
with all the, like, responsibility that comes with it. I have to say I have so much respect for the people who do this, knowing the risks involved. They're like the unsung heroes.
Absolutely.
Internet freedom. What they do is really important.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
They play a vital role in keeping the internet open and accessible for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that every little bit helps.
Mm-hmm.
Even if running a relay or an exit node isn't feasible for you,
Right.
there's still ways to contribute.
Like, what else can we do to, like, make a difference?
Well, for one, we can start by being more mindful
Okay.
of our own online security practices.
Right.
Every step we take to protect our own privacy
Yeah.
contributes to a more secure and open internet for everybody.
That makes sense. It's like we can't expect others to prioritize digital security
Right.
if we're not doing it ourselves.
Exactly. And beyond that,
Yeah.
we can spread awareness
Okay.
about these issues. Talk to your friends and family about the importance of online privacy.
Right.
Share resources like the EFF guide.
Yeah.
The more people who understand these concepts,
Right.
the better equipped we'll all be
Yeah.
to navigate the digital world safely and responsibly.
This conversation has really shifted my perspective.
Oh, good.
I came into this thinking about, like, surveillance self-defense as something that only activists
Right.
or, like, whistleblowers needed to worry about.
Yeah,
But now I'm seeing it as something that affects all of us.
it does.
It's about protecting, like, our basic rights in the digital age.
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Digital security.
Yeah.
It's a human right.
Totally.
It's something we all have a stake in.
Yeah.
The more we understand
Right.
about the tools and techniques available to us, the better we can protect ourselves
Yeah.
and support others who are fighting for their digital freedom.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, from risk assessment to malware to Tor, the importance of HTTPS.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Is there anything else this 2009 guide can teach us about, like, navigating the complexities of the modern internet?
Actually, there was one more thing I wanted to touch on.
Okay. Okay, lay it on me. What's this last nugget of wisdom from the EFF guide?
Well, it touches on something we haven't really discussed yet.
Okay.
Helping others directly.
Okay.
The guide suggests that if you have friends in a country
Right.
with heavy internet censorship,
Okay.
you might consider running a private proxy for them.
A private proxy. Is that like setting up a mini Tor network?
It's similar in concept,
Okay.
but on a smaller scale.
Gotcha.
It involves creating a secure connection that allows your friends to access the internet through your server,
Right.
bypassing any censorship or surveillance they might be facing.
So basically, like, routing their traffic through your connection.
Through yours.
That's incredibly generous.
It is.
But also sounds pretty technical.
Yeah.
Is this something that, like, just anyone can set up?
The guide does acknowledge
Yeah.
that setting up a secure private proxy
Yeah.
can be a little bit involved.
Okay.
It mentions needing something called an SSL certificate,
Right.
which ensures that the connection between your friend's computer
Right.
and your server is encrypted.
SSL certificate. Honestly, that's not something I have just lying around in my digital toolbox.
Probably not.
But it is amazing to know that this option exists.
It is?
It really shows, like, the lengths that people are willing to go to support each other's digital freedom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the power of human connection.
Yeah.
And how much we all value access to information.
Totally.
And while setting up a private proxy
Yeah.
might be challenging for some,
Right.
the guide does offer some simpler alternatives.
Oh, okay. What are those?
So, for example, if you have a Unix operating system, like Linux or Mac OS,
Right.
and you're comfortable with something called shell access, you could potentially give your friends shell accounts on your server.
Right.
This would allow them to create a personal proxy using a tool called SSH-D.
SSH-D. Okay, now we're definitely getting into more, like, technical territory.
Red is more technical.
But even if I don't fully understand, like, all the technical details, the takeaway for me is that there are options.
There are.
And for those who are willing and able to really, like, dive into the technical side of things, the EFF guide provides some, like, some guidance.
It does.
Wow, this deep dive has been a wild ride. We've gone from assessing our own risks to, like, exploring tools like Tor and even considering how we can help others access the internet freely.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, it's amazing how much, like, practical advice is packed into this 2009 guide.
It really is. It's a testament to those enduring principles of digital security.
Right.
And the dedication of organizations like the EFF for really empowering individuals online.
As we wrap up,
Yeah.
I keep thinking back to that point about HTTPS.
Mm-hmm.
How many websites do you visit regularly
Exactly.
that don't have that little padlock icon?
It's probably more than you think.
Yeah. Maybe this deep dive is a reminder for all of us to, like, check and make sure we're browsing securely whenever possible.
Good point.
This has been an intense but incredibly valuable deep dive. For anyone listening who's eager to learn more, we highly recommend checking out the EFF's Surveillance Self-Defense Guide yourself.
Absolutely.
You can find it on their website, esf.org.
Easy to find.
And remember, even if you're not, like, an activist facing direct censorship, every step you take to protect your own privacy contributes to a more secure and open internet for everyone.
That's the key takeaway here.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
It is that.
And taking action, even in small ways, can make a real difference. Stay safe out there, everyone.
Stay safe.
And keep exploring.
Keep learning.